The diner stood like a forgotten sentinel on the edge of Route 17, its faded neon sign buzzing intermittently against the encroaching night. The year was 2025, but places like this hadn't changed much since the mid-20th century. Greasy spoons where time seemed to pool in the corners, thick and unhurried. Jack Harlan pulled his weathered pickup into the gravel lot, the engine coughing to a stop as if relieved to rest. He wasn't sure why he'd chosen this spot. Maybe it was the isolation, or perhaps the faint pull of nostalgia from his days on the road as a younger man. At 48, with a face etched by too many unsolved cases and a body that ached from old injuries, Jack sought quiet places to think. Tonight, the weight of his latest investigation, a missing persons case that had gone cold faster than expected, pressed on him like a storm cloud. He grabbed his jacket from the passenger seat, the one with the hidden pocket for his notebook, and stepped into the cool September air. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of frying oil and stale coffee, a comforting assault on the senses. The linoleum floor was scuffed, the booths upholstered in cracked vinyl that had once been red but now faded to a dull pink. A jukebox in the corner played a scratchy rendition of some old country ballad, the kind that spoke of lost loves and endless highways. There were only a handful of patrons, a burly trucker hunched over a plate of eggs at the counter, an elderly couple sharing a slice of pie in a booth by the window, and a lone figure in the far corner, shrouded in shadow. Jack took a stool at the counter, nodding to the waitress as she approached. Her name tag read Lila, and she looked to be in her mid-20s, with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail and eyes that carried the weariness of someone who'd seen too much for her age. "Coffee, black," Jack said, his voice gravelly from disuse. Lila poured the coffee without a word, her movements efficient but mechanical, as if she were going through the motions on autopilot. Jack watched her subtly, a habit from his years as a private investigator. People revealed themselves in the small things, the way they held a pot, the flicker in their gaze. Lila's hands were steady, but there was a tension in her shoulders, a tightness around her mouth that suggested she was holding something back. As she turned to attend to the trucker, Jack's eyes wandered the room again, settling on the man in the corner booth, table 7. He sat perfectly still, his gray coat draped over broad shoulders, hands folded on the tabletop. No menu in front of him, no drink, just an untouched glass of water beating with condensation. The man stared out the window into the darkness, his face partially obscured by the dim lighting. Jack sipped his coffee, the bitter brew grounding him. He pulled out his notebook, flipping to a fresh page to jot down thoughts on the case. The missing girl, Emily Carter, had vanished 2 weeks ago from a town 30 miles up the road. Her family hired him after the local police hit a wall, no leads, no witnesses, just a cryptic note left in her apartment, "Debts come due." Jack had chased similar threads before, but this one felt different, laced with an undercurrent of something almost supernatural. He shook his head, dismissing the notion. Superstition had no place in his line of work, facts were what mattered. As the minutes ticked by, Jack noticed Lila's pattern. She refilled the trucker's cup, cleared the elderly couple's plates, wiped down empty tables, but she never approached table 7. It wasn't overt at first, she simply orbited around it, her path curving away like a magnet repelled. Jack's curiosity piqued. Was the man a regular? An ex? Someone who'd stiffed her on a tip? He leaned slightly, trying to get a better look without being obvious. The man hadn't moved, not even to adjust his posture. His coat seemed immaculate, too clean for a roadside diner, and there was something off about his stillness, unnatural, like a statue placed there as a prop. The jukebox switched tracks, a haunting melody filling the air. Lila glanced at the clock above the counter, her face paling slightly. It was nearing midnight, the witching hour, as his grandmother used to call it. Jack decided to probe gently. "Quiet night," he remarked as she passed by with a tray of dirty dishes. She paused, forcing a smile. "Yeah, Mondays usually are. You need anything else?" Jack shook his head, then nodded toward table 7. "That guy over there, been sitting a while. He order yet?" Lila's eyes flicked to the corner, then back, too quickly. He's fine. Just waiting, I think. Her voice was clipped, and she hurried away, disappearing into the kitchen. Jack's instincts flared. In his profession, evasion was as telling as a confession. He set down his mug and stood, stretching as if casual, then wandered toward the restroom at the back. His route took him past table 7, and as he neared, a chill prickled his skin. The air felt denser, colder, like stepping into a walk-in freezer. The man didn't look up, didn't acknowledge him, but Jack caught a glimpse of his face, pale, angular, with eyes that seemed to swallow light rather than reflect it. There was no warmth there, no spark of life, just an abyssal depth that made Jack's stomach twist. In the restroom, Jack splashed water on his face, staring at his reflection in the grimy mirror. "Getting jumpy in your old age," he muttered. But the feeling lingered, a nagging sense of wrongness. He'd encountered oddities before, cults, con artists peddling the occult, but nothing that made his skin crawl like this. Drying his hands, he slipped back into the diner, choosing a booth closer to the corner this time. From here, he could observe without drawing attention. Lila emerged from the kitchen, her apron smudged with flour, and resumed her duties, still avoiding table 7 with deliberate care. The trucker finished his meal, tossed some bills on the counter, and lumbered out, the bell above the door jingling. The elderly couple followed soon after, leaving Jack and the mysterious man as the only customers. The diner felt emptier, the shadows longer. Jack watched as Lila busied herself behind the counter, reorganizing sugar packets that didn't need it. Her glances toward table 7 were furtive now, laced with fear. Then, the man moved, subtly, turning his head toward her. It was a slow, deliberate motion, like a predator locking onto prey. Lila froze, a coffee cup slipping from her grasp and shattering on the floor. The crash echoed, but the man didn't flinch. Jack's hand instinctively went to his side, where his concealed carry permit allowed him a small revolver, old habits from his days in law enforcement. He stood, approaching table 7 with measured steps. "Evening," Jack said, his tone neutral but firm. "Mind if I join you for a minute?" The man turned his gaze to Jack, and up close, those eyes were even more unsettling, voids that pulled at the soul. "This seat is taken," he replied, his voice smooth, almost melodic, but carrying an undercurrent of menace. Jack didn't back down. "Doesn't look like it. You've been here a while without ordering." Making the waitress nervous. A faint smile curved the man's lips, thin and humorless. "Lila knows why I'm here. Do you?" The use of her name sent a jolt through Jack. He glanced back at Lila, who was sweeping up the broken glass, her hands shaking. "How do you know her name?" The man leaned forward slightly. "Names are inconsequential. Debts, however, those matter." Jack's mind raced, connecting dots. The note from Emily's case, debts come due. Coincidence? Or something more? What kind of debts? The man's smile widened, revealing teeth too perfect, too white. The kind that can't be paid with money. The kind sealed in desperation. Before Jack could press further, Lila approached, her voice trembling. "Jack, please. Just leave it." He turned, surprised she knew his name. Had he mentioned it? No, but perhaps she'd overheard. "Lila, who is this guy?" She shook her head, eyes darting between them. "You wouldn't understand. No one does." The man stood then, his movement fluid, almost gliding. He was taller than Jack expected, his presence filling the space. "Tell him, Lila. Tell him about the night you begged for help." Lila's face crumpled, tears welling. "Stop. Please." Jack positioned himself between them, hand on his hip. "Back off, buddy. Whatever this is, it ends now." The man chuckled, a sound like rustling leaves in a graveyard. "It ends when the debt is paid." And it's coming due soon. He brushed past Jack, the contact sending a wave of nausea through him, and exited the diner, the door swinging shut without the bell ringing. Jack turned to Lila, who slumped against the counter. What the hell was that? She wiped her eyes, glancing around as if expecting him to return. You really want to know? It started 2 years ago. Lila's story poured out in hushed tones, the diner empty now except for them. She'd been in a bad place, addicted to painkillers after a car accident that killed her fiancé, drowning in medical bills, on the verge of losing everything. One night, alone in her apartment, she'd whispered a prayer, not to God, but to anyone who might listen. I said I'd do anything, give anything, to make it stop. The next day, a stranger appeared, a man in a gray coat, offering a deal. He'd pay her debts, heal her pain, in exchange for something undefined, to be collected later. She thought it was a joke, a hallucination from withdrawal, but she agreed. And it worked. The bills vanished, the addiction lifted overnight. Life improved, she got this job, moved on.